process to basically send data with encryption, generally we would target the typical attachment. So that's primarily where the correspondence would be, the content within that attachment. So that's the prime use. Generally, what would happen is that you would effectively have a user compile an email and then basically just send it out. So in Outlook, just hit the normal send button. Now, this would be the first time that Emmanuel is actually mailing this recipient. So from that perspective, um, he'll be presented with a UI. And in that UI, it's just to set up the record for that recipient. This would happen each time you mail somebody new and trying to encrypt the data. Essentially, you have the options to select what type of encryption to employ. We're just going to basically do the attachment right now in PDF, but there's other options which we'll discuss later. You have the opportunity to obscure that subject line. We'll talk about that shortly as well. And then basically, setting up the actual password and transmission methods. There are various options to send the actual password or a password hint. So in this case, Emmanuel, we're just going to, create a hint. So we don't actually transmit the password to the user. We tell them it's, your cell phone number or your ID number or your account number, whatever you want. And we have different mechanisms to choose for password transmission. We have email, if you want to send it via email. We have SMS, or we have manual, which would be not to transmit and find a way to transmit that through some other mechanism. And then we also provide the ability to, control the permissions on the PDF itself. So once that's in place, basically just go ahead and hit send. And once that's sent on the recipient side. All right, so this is now simulating the recipient side. So you sent it to a third party. Let's go ahead and open. So as you can see, there's some header information just telling that third party that the attachment's encrypted. It will tell them where to go and look. If you sent that password by email or by SMS, then it will tell them where to find it. And in Emmanuel's case, remember, we said that the password to open the encrypted in PDF was actually his cell number. So we just put the hint in there so the person knows, if that could be your ID number or whatever. You can see here the content itself was not encrypted. We kept that, but the attachment itself is encrypted. So let's go ahead and open that actual PDF, Emmanuel. And he would use the password that got SMS'd to him. And just by the way, that SMS password is a service built into the platform or the service, globally free of charge. And as far as I know, we are the only guys in the country that's basically incorporated this at no cost, global sending, and incorporated as a extra form of transmission. So there we go. He opened his PDF. It's containing information that he wanted the recipient to see, but basically similar to what your bank statements and those kind of things look like. So hopefully, Tristan, that gives your audience a little bit of an idea of, how that works. Straightforward and simple.
Most definitely, most definitely. I see that you've only encrypted the attachments in that example. What if I wanted to have everything encrypted, including the email body as well? How does that work, and how would it look like for the recipient to access the encrypted email as well as the attachments from their side?
Okay, great. So that's straightforward and simple as well. So we're just going to compose another test email here as well from Emmanuel's side. And we'll actually this time, instead of just the attachment, we will actually do the full body just to give you a sense. So he's just going to attach something, and let's send it out like normal. And when it prompts for encryption, we'll say yes. Just remember, we set up Emmanuel's Outlook to prompt with this all the time. In the normal scenario, users will just be pre-set up, and it's quite seamless and transparent. So Emmanuel, go ahead and select the first one, which is the email attachment and full body, and go ahead and say send. And because Emmanuel already had a record now for this user or recipient, you saw it didn't prompt him for any passwords and things. It was just using the existing one. So we're going to switch to his Gmail. And there we go. So this time we have encrypted the full body and attachment. So same story. There's some information in the actual email of what the password is, where to find it. And this time you can see there's no content in the actual email itself. So Emmanuel, if you can just download that PDF there, and then we'll open that PDF and show you what that looks like, Tristan. So he's going to use his password. So there's that encrypted PDF. And the concept that we use here is what we call a secure PDF envelope. This is where we basically would take attachments and embed them. So there's some header information to tell a user or recipient how to access attachments in Adobe Reader. So this time, here's the content, Tristan. It's all embedded inside that PDF, so the main email. But importantly, if there was attachments right on top, you can see if it's got attachments. We've highlighted it right on the top to say this PDF has the following attachment file, customer record.pdf. And in order for him to access that, just click on the paperclip icon in Adobe, and that will show you attachments. So we've actually taken the attachment, embedded it inside the secure PDF, plus the content of the email stream itself. So nothing is visible outside of that. So that makes it very, very easy and usable. And hopefully that shows you how that looks, Tristan.
Yeah, that's brilliant, Amit. Let's say we're an attorney firm and we work with the banks or certain financial institutions, and they require that we must always encrypt correspondence with them. Is there a way that we can force a user to always encrypt any correspondence being sent to a specific recipient or even an entire domain? So, for example, when a user emails anyone at APSA.
That's a good question. We have that requirement from a number of organizations. Let's click on the app. It's merely an app setting, and an admin can set it up as they need. So let's go to the settings there, Emmanuel. And you see a setting that says must send encrypted. So we can define a mandatory list that can be an individual email address, or it could even be a full domain. So, star at APSA, as an example, will mean that anytime any user from your company emails anyone at EPSA or corresponds, then it must be sent encrypted. So let's actually show you that live now. So let's go OK there, Emmanuel, on the settings. And let's compose another example email. And just to show the audience. So we're going to send it to that Gmail account who he made mandatory. And same story, subject line, some content, and maybe an attachment. I saw there was a question that was coming through about the attachments. Anything that is convertible to PDF will be converted to PDF as a flat PDF and sent as an encrypted PDF. So Word document, spreadsheet, your typical office type data. If you want to maintain that in its original form, so an original spreadsheet format, an original Word document format for editing purposes, then you can embed that in the PDF itself. We also have the opportunity to keep files in the original format. But stuff that is not convertible, like maybe a graphics file, can't just be converted to PDF. So that will embed it in the actual PDF. All right, so let's go ahead and click send. And yes, no, because you don't want encryption. But notice it's going to force. So it will tell the user that they cannot email this recipient or domain without sending it encrypted. So that essentially is how that works. Hopefully that answers Tristan.
Most definitely, most definitely. Okay, perfect. So does it work? What about sending an email invite to someone? Can it work for meeting invites too? So if I wanted to include a document which might contain confidential information like a pre-built, pre-published audit report or financial spreadsheet, and I want to have that encrypted too, how will it work? And can the recipient still RSVP to a meeting invite?
Okay, that's another good question. Often email invites are forgotten about when it comes to securing content. Often we send out invites and we attach things that contain very sensitive confidential information. Take a board meeting and, the pre-release or pre-published audit report and, financial spreadsheets for budgeting, salary reviews for the next year, etc. is all kind of in there. And we send these things on email to external parties, etc. So here we're going to get Emmanuel just to set up a normal invitation and attach some sensitive content and show you how that works. So yes, absolutely. We actually fully catered for email invites as well. So anything he wants there. And let's go ahead and send that out. And this time we're going to send it with encryption. So when it prompts, you say yes. And we're just going to do the attachment for now, even if we were to do the body. Okay, so it's just warning him is attached a financial spreadsheet there. Remember, when you convert something to PDF, If you're doing something like a spreadsheet, it should be properly formatted. Otherwise, you can get what we call a untidy PDF document. So it's just a nice user-friendly message to tell the user, make sure that your print setting is set to all columns on one page, etc., so that it looks neat on the other side. Let's switch over to the Gmail account then, Emmanuel, and let's have a look at that email invite that came through to the third-party recipient. Okay, so you can see it looks like a normal invitation. We've had some advanced coding here to keep all of the RSVP capabilities so that essentially you can RSVP in terms of yes, no, maybe, etc. But if you scroll down, okay, we chose not to encrypt the content in this one, but we chose to encrypt the attachment. So there's the attachment file. And guess what? It is fully encrypted. So, well, it's the same as before, so I don't think we need to show this one. That's fine. But to answer there, Tristan, fully works for email invites as well, sent to any third-party recipient.
Definitely, definitely. I think that's brilliant. That's a brilliant piece of work there. So does it work the same if I want to send correspondence with encryption to multiple recipients? And can the app still send the password by SMS to each recipient when I'm sending the encrypted email to multiple recipients?
Very good question. And we had to take care of a lot of complexity here and also a lot of usability issues, right? So we're going to get Emmanuel to compose an email to multiple people, similar to what he's done before. Now, when you corresponding with a single individual, it's easy, right? Your bank sends you your bank statement. It's the bank to you, and you open it up. Same like this. It could be a doctor's office sending a medical report to an individual patient. But if you, for instance, take something like, maybe a law firm where, paralegal and multiple people are copied on this thing, etc., or included, we need to make sure that all recipients on this email thread are able to interact, where they can reply all, but of course still safeguard the content. So in order to accomplish this, whenever you send to multiple recipients, we do it with what we call a common password. So it's not your personal password. And essentially from that perspective, everybody's using the same password to access this email. So let's go ahead and say send the Emmanuel, and let's send with encryption. Right. Now, this time you are presented with the screen again because it is a multi-recipient email. So you would set a password that everybody would use in this mail thread. So, whatever it is. And let's send the actual password this time to his phone. That's fine. And let's go and say send. So very few things to actually set up. Now, Emmanuel had a record sent to or set up for his Gmail account. So that was all great. And here's a new function or capability for multiple recipients. So we are detecting that the one email address that is added here doesn't have a mobile number. And we're saying that we want you to transmit this by SMS. So let's go ahead and just add this record in there, Emmanuel. Just randomly generate a password. It's fine. And send by SMS. Let's add in the country code and South Africa. And we've catered for all the different forms of the way people will type a mobile number normally or without the zero, etc. And just save that. Once it's added, so you'll get prompted for the ones that don't have it, you'll just hit send. And so all the mail recipients on this mail thread will receive an SMS with the password to access this multi-recipient email. And if we look at it on the Gmail side, once
Sorry,
it's sent,
Amit, we lost you for a second there. Just come again.
okay. I was just saying that all the recipients will get the password for this. Okay, and basically send it out from there. So
Okay. So our second user there is the wrong email address, but then still it won't affect the first user. They'll still get their email as they were supposed to. So it does work for multiple recipients there.
yeah, no issues
Most
there.
definitely. Perfect. So let's take a moment to talk about passwords, right? So obviously the recipients would require a personal or company password to open the encrypted PDF. What if I wanted to change the password or password transmission preferences for a recipient and where the passwords are stored? How do I, as a user, manage records for my recipients?
Good question there again, Tristan. So we have a central repository that's accessible within Outlook. So if you just open the app there, Emmanuel. Am I audible, Tristan?
Amit, you are audible.
Okay, great. So if we just open the app there, and basically the first menu item, PDF encryption passwords. All right, so this is a little repository called My List that exists on Emmanuel's PC. It's a little database file. It's fully salted and encrypted, so it's inaccessible without the salting. And basically, you can see all the records and the passwords. At any point in time, Emmanuel can just grab that password and even choose to resend it to that recipient by hitting the send password button again. You can copy it to his clipboard. But if he goes to edit any record, by the way, you can also search on the top if you're looking for something. So if you're looking for anybody with Gmail, so let's just type in Gmail there on the top. Okay, finds it immediately. Let's go and edit that record. At the bottom, let's edit it. And there you can go. You've got the UI that will come up and you can change the password preferences, etc. Again, Tristan. So central repository, very easy, very quick, and very simple. One that we are not showing here as well, Tristan, just to mention, we also have a shared password list. A shared password list is different to my list. This is where we can apply business control password usage and preferences set by an administrator as opposed to by the user. It's ideal for places where you have multiple users, for instance, communicating with the same recipient. So take a doctor's office where you have reception 1 and reception 3 on reception 5 all mailing the same patient. Now, from an experience perspective, you don't want that patient to open or receive emails and then having to open each one with different passwords from different senders. So we can commonize that password, and let's assume it's the person's medical aid number or ID number or whatever. We can all, set it up centrally. And so it doesn't matter which user would actually send out that email to the recipient. They basically all will get encrypted with that common password for that recipient. And it's all easily handled. We also have full domain capability. So we can actually specify not just an individual, like for instance, everybody at CRS. And we can, whenever you're communicating with CRS, it will use a CRS-based password. So very functional, very flexible, very sophisticated, depending on how we wanting to apply these rules within the business use. So hopefully that gives you that sense.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Amit. So I've seen from your previous example that the app can also obscure the subject line, which can help to enhance the privacy of emails, so no one on the internet knows what it relates to if infiltrated. Can you show us an example of how this would work and and what it would look like for the recipient?
Okay, great. So this time, let's again send something to the Gmail user. Let's assume this was now a payment invoice, or if you were busy with a property transfer or something, this could have been the deposit for the for the trust account or something. This is where a lot of the business email compromise fraud is happening. We see a lot of usage of our app in that space right now. So let's go and attach, some form of remittance information or something, and let's go again and send, but this time let's go ahead and obscure the subject line. Now you see this from some of the big medical aid companies that will send you some correspondence. You don't see what the email relates to. So let's obscure the subject line. Emmanuel, just check that box and click send. Okay, and what we can do is we can look at the recipient side as well to see what it would look like. So you receive an email now. Let's assume this was relating to the payment. See, you don't even see what that subject line is. If you called it, invoice for deposit payment or something, you won't know what it's about. The complete email is privatized. And of course, the intention is to keep all your correspondence in the attachment itself and not really put anything in your email body. So in that way, that invoice, if he opens it up, or if it was a remittance info or bank information, completely secure. And if you're sending that password out of band, like something like SMS, an attacker wouldn't really know A, what the password is to open this if we were using something private, and B, even if it was infiltrated on the cloud, they would not get access to this because we use high encryption standards for that.
Perfect. Amit, you spoke about that encryption standard. What is the level of security used for any encrypted PDFs, and how can we verify it?
That's another good question. And sometimes you might need to prove those from an audit or legal perspective. So let's get Emmanuel to open up one of the encrypted PDFs there that he might have used. And yeah, you can just open one of the PDFs that you downloaded there, Emmanuel, and let's look at the properties of it. So of course, there's the encryption level itself, but we also got permission control. So we've got various permission controls there. If you can just download that. Is this a local copy, Emmanuel? Just open up one that you perhaps downloaded to your
All right.
computer.
Just a second there.
Okay. So in Adobe itself, we can actually check the security and permissions. So just open that up. Right, we can click on the padlock there to see the security. And if you look at details on the top there, show details, that will show you the security of the actual PDF itself. If you look right down, we are applying the highest level 256-bit AES encryption right at the bottom. And that's actually higher. I'll challenge anybody on this call, go and look at your bank statement. That is higher than what the banks are doing, which is typically 128. But so this was all done quite reasonably fast, end-to-end encryption before it even left your PC. And we've got a full PDF permission control there. You can see all the controls in terms of printing, etc. In this case, we've allowed maybe form filling. You can see Emmanuel allowed that permission, but it's denied all the other permissions. So you can actually see on the PDF on the top right, Emmanuel, just hover your mouse there. You will actually see that the printing button is actually grayed out and disabled. So Emmanuel cannot print this PDF actually. So we've got, provide a lot of different security and capabilities for the PDF itself, plus the encryption layer that we apply.